You're listening to the Resilient Tourism podcast series, brought to you by EHL Hospitality Business School. This podcast is part of the Resilient Tourism Project, funded by InnoSuisse through the flagship program. Digital transformation isn't just about technology. It's about fostering deeper human connections. In Season 3, we explore high tech for high touch with leading experts and innovators, where we ask ourselves the following question: how can we balance technology and human touch in the hospitality and tourism sector, where people are key to success? In this episode, we hear Professor Maggie Chen interviewing Professor Hannes Werthner. Hannes is expert in computer sciences, e-commerce, and tourism. He is also the founding father of the International Federation of IT and Tourism, and one of the main promoter of the concept Digital Humanism.
Okay, so we start with the first one. Can you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, my name is Hannes Werthner. I'm a professor emeritus at Technical University of Vienna, where I was a professor for computer science and e-commerce and did some work in tourism. I also was a dean of the faculty, which is something like the head of the department, directing the department for 4 years. My background, as you see, is from computer science. Early in the computer science, I did a little bit of mathematics and statistics and operation research and did some work in artificial intelligence. Then moving to the web and working in e-commerce and applications of e-commerce in the tourism domain, both from a theoretical point of view as well as from a practical point. And from the practical point, I was the designer and having the idea of the famous Discover system in Austria, which was somehow a pre-runner of the booking system, but having also a part of the destination information system. Specifically related to the tourism field, I was the guy who founded ENTA conference in 1994 and also the IFIT, the Federation for IT and Tourism. And I was also the founding editor together with Jafar Jafari on the Journal of Information Technology and Tourism, which is now published by Springer. With the time and becoming older a little bit, I started to reflect on, even if I did it also earlier, but I started to reflect what we are doing in the field of computer science. What is our impact? How are we changing the world? Because computer science, in essence, by its artifacts, which is software and hardware, but also by its paradigms and ontology we provide. So, let's say the methods and the point of view with this computational thinking, we are fundamentally changing the world, or we are part of this fundamental change, what you call digital transformation. And this led me to a discussion on the relationship between society, humans, and technology, and which was also somehow, strengthened by a discussion when I was dean at the faculty. I had an international advisory board of 5 international colleagues coming from different fields of computer science: Edward Lee, Moshe Wadi, Hans Ackermann, Carlo Gezzi, and Nadia Thalmann. So there were 5. And we had a discussion on over time. So the task of the advisory board was to look at the faculty, but at the end we were discussing at computer science in general. And then we realized that we need to reflect on that and also having some impact on the community. And this when we founded this initiative, Digital Humanism, which is both an idea as well as an initiative. It's really looking at this digital transformation where understanding that technology has 2 sides. In essence, it's an essential part of, let's say, of bringing our society forward for growth, for, let's say, being more effective, also improving standard of living, all those different things. It's part of our society and it keeps the society running. In some sense, computer science is, as I say, the operating system of our society and the world. If you would switch it off, it would not work anymore. And on the other side, we are also creating problems. Okay, we are creating problems by, let's say, when you look at we have created with the web, we have starting from a world where the web was envisaged and the internet envisaged as a world of participation and communication and open and free exchange of information. It slowly changed to a highly centralized environment where very few companies, the so-called platform companies, the IT companies, are governing this structure. We have a problem when you look at sovereignty of the individuals and of states, where already these big IT platforms define how we are looking at the world and how it should work. We have a problems of data privacy. We have a problem of energy consumption. They are reopening nuclear power plants which have failed in the US, this 3 Mile Island, for, let's say, providing energy to the cloud servers and the data centers and the machine learning capacities needed there. So we have both sides of that, no? And when you look at the recent development in the field of artificial intelligence, it also shows this both sides. So it's a double phase. No, technology is always a double phase. No, it can destroy and it can create. No, and it's important how we design, how we develop it, and also how we use it. And this is something. Having done this now for 4 years, this Digital Humanism initiatives, this is something, let's say I had some impact in the e-tourism domain, but now I also have this impact in this, let's say, socially reflective part, looking at the application and the use of computer science. I think this with Digital Humanism might be even more important. It's now an initiative where we have European projects running, where we have national projects running, where we have professorships at universities. We have doctoral schools starting that. We are running summer schools. We will run a summer school this summer in July in Rwanda, in Kigali, together with our African colleagues. We have conferences. So this is something we have, where I was one of the initiators of this, and we succeeded in putting it into, let's say, some form where it can survive, and it got some, let's say, momentum.
Excellent.
So this is a short introduction of myself, which was now a little bit too long, but
no,
okay.
Because you know what, our colleague Alessandro Inversini, he told me that, if I have time, I need to ask you about digital humanism. Okay, and now we're starting with this, and now we're going to our podcast question. So I think this is really interesting for us because I feel like digital humanism is the overarching concept, but on the other hand, it's also concrete because you and your colleagues have already have research projects, conferences, and we want to be more specifically talking about high tech and high touch in tourism domain. So here is our first question. What is high tech in our tourism industry? Can you give examples of the evolution of high tech over the years? What will be high tech in our industry 5 years from now? And how do we prepare for the transformation?
You know, this famous saying that you cannot predict the future, no? Something I think it was Niels Bohr coming from quantum mechanics, where probabilities you cannot. Okay. This is a very difficult question. I see an evolution of the, let's say, IT, let's say, and here I specifically focus on IT in this tourism and travel domain. No? When I started 94, just to give you a thing, when I started 94 with the first Enter conference, and this is only 30 years ago, no? There were guys in the room, this was in Innsbruck in Tyrol, there were guys in the room who left the room who said, what nonsense are you saying, no? We were talking about electronic markets, we were talking about digital agents. This was the time when the web was not, it was already founded, but it was not yet there.
I agree. I remember at that time, people continue to talk about information superhighway. But
Yeah.
it's like, what is information superhighway? It's really cool, but we have no idea what that is. Concrete idea. So please.
But I think it's not a highway. It's if you look at it's a street system, no, where where it's well distributed, where you have everything connected. You have connected us. You have connected the devices. You have connected mobile devices. Everything is connected. We have the digital, the virtual. Governing somehow the real. If you look at the car, without software, it would not work. If you look at our conversation, if we would not have it here, it would not work. So it's really the superhighway is, I think, the only thing which is true is super. Okay, but highway it's more the world. It's the digital world, and this brings me also to the. Which is especially important for mobility and for tourism, which is, it's, let's say, we are moving and we are, having sport and we are moving from one place to the other. We have all those mobility systems. We have all those devices connected. We have public, let's say you have now the bus system where you have internet connectivity. You have your cameras. When you look at the specific building, the camera tells you the story of the building. No, so you have your mobile tourist guide. If you enrich this by artificial intelligence and recommender systems, let's say by looking at 3 pictures, the system will tell you what to look next, and maybe you should change your, let's say, your travel itinerary and things like that. So I see it as a moving where you have support by those devices. You will have your devices maybe implanted in your hands, or where you have your interface at your arm. You will have, let's say, the computer will be everywhere, and at the same time it may disappear, in the sense that it's integrated in other devices or even in your clothes. When you have your, let's say, your feeling sensed and things like this. So you can imagine of many of those different aspects. And you will have a differentiation from a consumer's point of view. You will have some who will follow this road, and then you will have some who do not want to follow this road, who want to switch off button. I think there is some differentiation from this consumer behavior side.
Well, I want to ask you a question related to this. When we think about high tech, and you gave us lots of examples, but I also read your article and I start to think about, like, high tech is related to the degree of automation, at least for one aspect, because what will be the high tech for the future? I think when the general public accept technology, I think then this technology can no longer be considered as high tech. And what do you think about this? Oh, I don't know. I'm curious.
No. I'm because in your definition of high tech is something which is not here, because when it is here, it's not high tech anymore. Yeah. It's let's say, it's technology always becomes absorbed by the humans. It's somehow, let's say, it's look at the web. Okay, the web was something which was out of us, but now we absorbed it and we changed it. We changed it to our needs. And I think this will also happen with some of those devices. We will integrate it to our daily living. Having said this, and having also this differentiation on the side of the side of the consumer, one part back to the let's say high tech definition or something like that. What we see today is that it's not only simple software, but it will be something which is artificial intelligence based. So these are learning devices in some sense, learning devices by observing behavior of others, understanding trends. And by this, they will also have influence on our living by proposing things, by interfering with our daily living. Having said this, we have to watch that we don't go to George Orwell's 84. Okay, that our data are collected and analyzed, our data are used. I think in the simple terms, they are used for marketing needs and marketing communication. In the bad terms, they are used for, let's say, political influence. They are used for, let's say, persuading people to do specific things. They are against their own will. They are used for controlling. So, and this is an issue where we should ask ourselves whether we go into such a society with very centralized data stores. At the moment we have it. Google knows everything in some sense, or also Facebook and those guys. From the architectural point of view, should we allow such a centralization? And the second point is, who is the owner of this? Who is it? Is it the democratic society, or is it in the hand of private companies? Because one thing, when you mentioned the information highway, it's something, those systems became a public good. It's a public good in the sense that they offer services probably the public administration cannot offer anymore. Or on the other side, you have to participate to not fall out of the society. Think of social media, where we are part of it, where we have to use if you're in the tourism domain as a hotel, you have to be in the booking system. Otherwise, you have serious problems, or you have a very clever marketing strategy, then you could do it differently. So it's a public good. And normally public good are owned by public administration, but we are in a situation where the public good is not owned by the public, but it's owned by private companies. Okay? And then we have an issue of in which direction do these systems develop? And this is the issue of democratic control. What is the voice of the normal people? Because what also happened in this web development, that some ideas, not all, but some ideas of democratic participatory approaches somehow perverted. They became a perversion. They turned around. Let's take the example of Airbnb. Okay, Airbnb was for couch surfing and living with other private guys, not going to hotels. And this changed not only the tourism industry, it changed even the cities. It changed the rents, it changed the housing. It came up to a situation where people go on the street and demonstrate against it. Think of Barcelona, think of the Balearic Island, where it's, let's say, rent prices increased, okay? There are many examples of that. The second example is, which is also in the tourism industry, where the early influencers were intended to be a counter voice to, let's say, too much public relations and advertising, okay? To somehow having a counter voice to the big companies, those who were selling with normal advertising, okay? Today, influencers are part of the let's say marketing and advertising business. It's even trickier than the normal advertising by a company, because those influencers somehow have a social reputation they are selling. Okay, so in some sense it's a changed relationship of private persons trying to persuade you to buy something. So this is also something which happened in the web. And this is coming with this technological transformation. And I think we have to look at that. And it's also happening in the tourism industry. And I think this is something where digital humanism can say us a lot.
I agree with you. And then we want to say that we now reflect on what technology has done for us, the two sides, the benefit and the consequence, and the negative side of the consequence. And we also consider the negative consequence on the human side, right? But now we want to say that what about high touch? Initially, we learned the term high tech, high touch. And I went to read the original book of the high touch. Okay. And actually, surprisingly, his view is very similar to what you are saying. They are positive and negative side of technology. Okay. And we need to reflect on our relationship with technology. But they never discuss what high touch is. And that's why we thought, okay, what is high touch? And that's why we decided to do this podcast to try to learn from all the thought leaders about high touch.
It's the human touches that we two talk with each other. Okay. It's something the human touch is when I'm not going to a hotel where I don't see, let's say, no reception anymore. Okay. There are some hotels where you go in with your credit card and you don't see anybody anymore. Okay. And then you get you can, with your phone, you can open your room. No, you can even direct the shower and everything with that, or the TV. This is not, let's say, this is for me the negative side of high touch. Okay, it will be well suited for a specific class of customers who like it, who are used to that, who are not over 65 or 75, who might have problems in reading the phone all the time or using it. In the positive sense, high touch is something when technology helps that people meet, or that I can, in a better way, have my leisure time experience. Okay, but it's not substituted totally by technology. Technology augments our capacities, but it's not, let's say, totally substituting it. Okay. I can use high touch in a sense when I go for example, I was skiing and everything is organized for me, but then I want to have my personal contact and the personal skiing. Okay. This would be some, let's say, support there. Okay. The other support would be when I have, if I want, but already here you have the problem. For example, when I go skiing, I want to go to quiet places. Okay. But others want to go to the loud places. Some go to skiing for having fun and to make party. Some go there to have some, let's say, environmental, relaxing, natural experience. Okay. This brings me to a very important point in this technological issue, and which is also related to technology. Should we have systems supporting that we can do everything? Or should we have systems who have a societal, sustainable, let's say, restriction or design issues? I give you an example. Our recommender systems in tourism are optimized with respect to turnover and customer satisfaction, individual customer satisfaction. They are not optimized with respect to sustainable nature. They are not optimized with, let's say, contacts with locals. They are, let's say, they are efficiency increasing, optimizing devices, where the optimization criteria is personal satisfaction and company profit. Okay? This is not where I see the world going.
Well, I think, so the reason it's not recommending something benefit for the local or the environment is because of lack of data, or it's because people have not thought about it.
You're right. I think the community did not think about it. I think it's let's say you see it also on the organizational level that we do not think about it. For example, when I was starting in the tourism domain in the late 80s, early 90s, the tourist board in Austria had also some regional responsibility. It was not only a tourism marketing agency. Okay. So they were thinking, how could we develop the industry? How could we have, let's say, a better environment, things like that. How could we integrate also locals and things like that? Okay. How could we support cultural issues? Over time, they changed to pure marketing and sales departments, how they could, let's say, optimize the product and bring in more tourists or more profitable tourists. Okay. And this is not, in my sense, losing the societal aspect. And I see that, for example, when booking is in some sense, no, it's another thought, but booking is really optimizing its own turnover and the turnover of the hotel. Okay. There's no limitations on environmental issues. There is no limitations on societal critical things. So this is something where this would be an aspect of high touch. And this is also something when you say we did not think about it, it's right, we did not think about it, but this would be also an issue for academia.
Yep.
Because industry does not think of this, okay? But academia should reflect on that.
Yeah. Then I want to say that, when you mention about maybe when you went ski, you prefer the quiet area, and then from there we talk about recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the thing is, this is still focusing on the technology side, and I want to say that, of course, the more personalized recommendation is the high touch. However, I also want to see your opinion about then what do you see the traditional tourism and hospitality practitioners do? Because now we know that, okay, in the future, if we start to think about recommendation system, need to consider the environmental impact and local cultural impact. Then we can have more personalized recommendations to you as a traveler. But on the other hand, we also know that the hospitality and tourism industry is not very attractive, or comparing to other industry, our tourism industry is not the most attractive employer. So what do you see that we can do to make the industry more attractive?
Oh, this is pay more.
Yeah,
This is very simple. Pay pay better wages. No, I mean
yeah.
have better working situation
Well, we
conditions.
agree with you. We
This
totally
is
agree with you.
it.
Yeah,
It's this is very let's say. I always hear them shouting, no, that it's they let's say they have so many problems and this, but um, I completely agree with you. That, but this is um, they have also the disadvantage that it's a small and medium enterprise industry where medium is already an overestimation. No, it's
yeah,
it's a small. It's a small. It's a let's say from the let's say when you take the hotel and the restaurant business, uh, it's good for easy occupation where you can go because you can go in with a very low educational level. So the skills don't, you can learn on the job. Okay. So this is something where it also has an advantage. But I agree with you that it's not that they do not keep the personnel. So this is something, and there it might be an issue of, let's say, um, wages, payment. I see if they go into more specialized sectors, there might be more payment. But I'm not an expert in this hotel industry.
mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm a
Well,
good eater. I'm not an expert in restaurants.
yes. Yeah, you know what? We love the hospitality industry. We love the tourism industry, but we are not the employees in the industry. We like to be the customers of the
Yeah.
industry. Yeah. Then we want to ask you, since you mentioned about SMEs, so how should SMEs transform themselves or join this uh, digital humanism?
This uh, it's interesting. In Austria, we have a guy who runs a journal, a quarterly journal, Tourism Quarterly or something like this. It's called, and he's coming to my conferences, and he's writing and he's trying to translate it both in language to German and in content because sometimes it's not so easy to follow the discussions we have. I think one for and this but this is an old story. I think the SME have to cooperate. This is it's in some sense they cooperate already on a business level because they have the suppliers, the local suppliers. They cooperate with farmers, they cooperate with others. But I think they should create stronger networks where they really could counterbalance uh, the power of the big. This has to do with, I think they have to cooperate in the field of, let's say, research, in the sense of market research, customer things, where they, in the field of technology, where they could share resources, where they could share know-how, where they could. This is something where I think should, especially in these fields. There were some initiatives some time ago where they had some, let's say, cooperation in market research or things. Or the idea of Discover was also to bundle the Tyrolean product, not as an individual hotel's product, but as a destination product, okay? And to sell it as a destination. This was something like bundling. I think bundling and cooperation is an issue for tourism.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. And I really appreciate your insight. So anyway, I just feel like thank you very, very much for your time to share your insight with us.
There's one last note. Research and science never has fixed answers. We are working for them. Okay?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we are. And I remain positive about the future for tourism.
And that's a wrap. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to tune in for more insights in the upcoming episode.